Hi, welcome to Pimp My Dual. Thanks for joining us today. What we are doing and showing you today is our Dual Plinth Do-It-Yourself Level 1. This is the most basic and affordable kit that we offer. It brings you with hardwood, true hardwood for your dual turntable. And I just want to point out what's here and try to give you an idea so you can choose your level of do-it-yourself that you're comfortable with. So what we have is hardwood. This is oak that has been cut to actually fit your specific dual. These are right, left, back, and front. We also have 4 feet, which also serve as corner reinforcements and also a place for you to mount your feet. And then we also have felt trim, which allows you to finish out the back side of this where it mates with your existing dual base and hinge. We also have a couple of cable relief clips, and of course your beautiful Pimp My Dual logo that you can put on the inside of one of your units or one of your portions. So the difference between this one and level 2 are just the feet. So we add the feet into your build and everything that is needed. That is just basically covering the cost of those feet, but we also pre-fit these 4 corners with the needed T-nuts so that you can screw in the 8mm stems. These are isolation feet, so they do absorb or restrict the absorption of vibrations from your speakers. And they are also adjustable, as you can see on the screwed inserts, allow you to adjust the height and level your plinth. I think the best way to tell you how to put this together, and that's where we're going next, is to actually show you the finished product that you're trying to get. Sort of like putting together a puzzle, and it's always nice to be able to look at the box top first. So we're going to hop back in here in just a second, and I'm going to show you a finished plinth so you know where you're trying to go to with this kit. Okay, so here is our finished box top, if you will, of the picture that we're trying to put together. This is a complete hardwood oak stained finished dual plinth that has been custom built. You'll notice that the way that we keep this affordable is to repurpose portions of your existing Dual CS plinths. This one here is specifically for 4 springs with 3 transit screws. This is going to be most of your full-size dual turntables. Now, I'm going to pull out this base that was repurposed from the original CS plinth. Set that aside and give you a little bit more so that you know where those components actually come together. So we actually, you can see front, sides, back. We actually have on this model some beautiful isolation feet. Let me see if I can give you a better picture of that. But these are the isolation feet that are mounted. If I unscrew one of these, you're going to see that they have a T-nut already into this portion of the base. You'll also notice that this doesn't just serve as a place to mount your feet, but it also reinforces the corners on all 4 corners. Here we have some cable strain relief, just so that your cables don't go. It's rudimentary, it's basic, but it's very effective. So it keeps everything from being having too much strain on your cables going up to the base of your turntable. On the back here, we have felt lining, and that keeps just everything nice and tight and a little bit of absorption for any connection to the original base. So that's what we're going to try to build here today, and we're going to start in just a minute. And I'll be giving you the tools that you'll need to do this. So again, here is our box top for our puzzle, and we're about to put that puzzle, which is over there, together. See you in a minute. Okay, we're back with our kit, our do-it-yourself kit level 1. We're going to start by actually adhering two sides. The tools that you're going to need are the two sides to the front. The tools that you're going to need at this point is some type of quality wood glue. This Type Bond is just from a local retailer and it works really well. I like it. And then the other thing is something that is going to give you a nice 90-degree fit and something that'll hold it properly while it's drying. At times I've added the last pieces, which would be the back and also the four corners. But at this time, I'm going to set them aside so that we can concentrate on getting a good tight fit on the very front. The other thing they're going to need is a nice flat work surface so that when you set this down, it dries properly and dries flat. Let's get started, and I'm going to actually set some, make sure I have some paper here, a paper towel ready to go so I can wipe things off. And the first things I'm going to do, and I will speed this video up in parts, but just to give you an idea of how things are going, I'm going to do slow in some areas. So we have some nice 90-degree cuts on all three of these pieces. And you'll notice where the top groove is, and that's going to make sure that you know that you're going groove to groove all the way, and that's going to be your top. So if I set these up, this is what we're shooting for. And we can see that we're going to have some nice 90s here. Now, while this is really well cut, please know that this is not like done on a laser cut. So it's not going to be absolutely 100% perfect. We are dealing with wood, so it can get notched and, you know, make some fluctuations in the cuts. But these are really nice cuts, and we aim to give that to you and provide that to you when you're doing this. So one of the things I'm going to suggest is to use a decent amount of wood glue. While we're not trying to hide or fill in imperfections, the wood glue does serve to do that. So you want to be somewhat generous, but not too generous that it makes a mess. You will be able to sand off all the extra glue in the end, so don't worry about if it's going to be on your top joints or down in the corner joints or on the bottom joint. You will be sanding that away, and it makes for a nicer bond and a cleaner stain in the end. So we're going to open this up, and I'm going to start with this first one. We're going to do one at a time, one corner at a time. And I like to actually take it, I'm going to set this corner aside for right now. I actually like to take it and kind of smooth it out a little bit on the entire joint. And this will squeeze out as we dry it. I just like to make sure that we definitely have some on the top and some on the bottom. And some out towards the front. Well, we want it all over is what it comes down to. This is where your paper towel comes in handy, since it's all over your finger. Let me just set that down for a second. And I don't typically put it on both sides. It's not usually necessary. So we're going to start out with this one side. I'm going to get that together in its start here. I'm going to grab one of my corners. Again, this might not be what you're using, but this is an affordable kit on Amazon. I don't want to quote the price, but I think it was under $20, maybe 30, and came with 4 corners actually, so you can do more corners than what I have just here. So I'm going to put my first, get it at least snug on the first corner. Again on the second corner, a little snug because we're going to be able to move this to where we need it. And I'm going to start working this corner to make sure it looks really good. You can see where I'm going here. I can see where it's a little off, so I'm going to work it. To where I'm at a point where I'm in a nice good fit, top to bottom, side to side. I'm going to tighten up on these things a little bit. Also, you'll see a little pencil mark there. In this case, I probably wouldn't send that to you with a pencil mark, but it's okay because that does sand off when you're doing the sanding. I can look at this 90 here and I can see it's a really clean fit, but I'd like to make sure that this is well glued in here. So I'm going to put a little bit more. I'm just going to use my finger to distribute this. And as I said again, this will all sand off. But I don't want any gaps or any air in here in that 90. So I'm going to fill it in with some glue. I'm going to take a little bit of this off the bottom before I set it on my work surface so that it doesn't stick too bad. A little stick doesn't matter. It'll pry right off, and then you can clean the bench afterwards. That is really a tight fit up top here, but I'm still going to give it just a little bit more glue just in that seam area just in case. And that's our first corner. I'll slide this over, make sure these are still tight. They are. Slide this over and let's start on this other corner here now. We can do the same. Little glue. Again, distributing with my finger. Handy paper towel. I'm going to come in one more time and bring this in. And begin to set in my 90-degree clamp holder. Snug, but not tight yet. Okay. Press that down and make sure it feels nice and flat. Look at my 90-degree over here. It looks really good actually. But I'm going to come up, try to give you a view. Make sure that it's nice and square all the way around, top, bottom, and corner. I'm going to do the same thing, apply a little bit more glue with my finger, especially to the corner joint. Just to fill in any air gaps. So you are kind of getting to see how the sausage is made, but that's okay. It's not like we're trying to hide anything. We're going to make a nice quality plinth in the end, but this is how we get there. And this is your do-it-yourself portion. So sorry if that was a little bit tight, but there's our corner. We're going to set that down, make sure we look good all the way around. I think I may have screwed that up a little bit, so I'm going in again. This glue does remain pliable for a little bit, and you do need that little pliability. That looks good. Tighten these up now. I'm gonna double check my other corner to make sure that hasn't moved while we've been messing around. But the right corner and the left corner and right corner both look good. I think I'm going to adjust this just a hair. Joints look good, everything looks good. Okay, now as I mentioned before, I could go on and actually do this back piece, but I find out that it works better if I just am a little patient and let the front finish first and let it dry up. And that way, when I put on the back piece, there's no chance of it messing up these front corners. We want the back to look very nice, and it will look very nice also, but we want the front to look pristine. And this setup and letting it dry first really helps us out to accomplish that. Okay, so we're gonna pause here, let this dry, and then we'll come in and start working on the back, and we'll move on from there. All right, everyone, we are now, with the magic of time-lapse, we are back to where everything is dry in our corners. And so we're gonna remove our 90-degree reinforcements. There's one. There's two. And now we're going to think about concentrating on the back here. So by the way, these joints came out pretty nice. Nice, and they'll look really good after being sanded. All that glue mark will be off. You'll have that same experience, a little bit of dried glue on top, no worries. So, okay, now we have our base, or we have our three sides. We're gonna add our back piece, which is going to go like this. And we're gonna do the same thing that we did on the front by adding some glue and pulling this together. So let's get one side. Well, let's decide what we're going to do for the back and pick a good side. You know, these three sides have grooves in them, so you can see, okay, these are definitely going to be where the sides, you don't have a choice. But on this back piece, you kind of get a little bit of a choice. This one, for some reason, with the red oak, seems to have some green in it. But this is a beautiful red. And I tend to like some of the grain to go up from where it's at. So I'm gonna go with it like that. A little bit of glue here. Finger spread as discussed before. And in this case, we're going to do glue on this side. Make sure you got the side you want. That's it right there. Notice the position. Keep that towel around and wipe up anything you dripped like I just did. And then we're going to do our corners again. This one's a little bit tighter because you don't have a ton of space to put your quarter in. Let's see where we're going to put this one. A lot of choices in this space. So that's going to be about there. Give it a little snug, but enough to where we can still maneuver it. And the same on this side. Some more alignment. And some more tightening of the thumb screws. We're going to do the same thing that we did in front. Spread a little bit of this glue into our cracks. Sorry, that might be up a little close, but I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, I will be sanding that off later. Same thing over here. This gives me a chance to also make sure, excuse me, that everything is exactly where we want it. Go. And we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to wait a few minutes and let that dry. I can tell you another part that I'm going to do, and that is our feet. These are our four corners. They are actually going to be going in every one of these corners like this. Now, if you are going to use a foot where you're going to screw it through, and again, the difference between level 1 and level 2 do-it-yourself is really that level 1 doesn't come with feet, so you're only going to have these blocks and you will mount your feet to these corners. Where level 2 does come with this foot, and it will be mounted here. And it'll also be drilled and have T-nuts already installed to receive the stem already. So I'm going to, while this is drying, I'm actually going to drill these because they are going to have feet installed, and I will also install the T-nuts. So you'll see them when we come back. All right, thanks. See you in a bit. All right, everybody, we are back. While this has been drying, our back panel here has been drying. It's still not completely dry, but it's dry enough for me to be able to mess with it and not worry about damage. I was out there, as I mentioned, putting in the T-nuts that our feet will actually mount on. Again, if you are doing your own feet, not purchasing it with the level 1 kit with no feet, I don't know that you'll need T-nuts, depending on what type of foot that you purchase. It just may have something that screws in, or it may have something that has a machine screw that actually screws through the wood and into here. So you're going to have to take a look at that and decide how you're going to drill this, and then prepare it for your mounting of the feet that you choose. These, as I mentioned, use an 8mm T-nut to mount. Now, one thing I want to say is that these actually go down, only because this is very thick. To get a T-nut that thick is not easy to do. I don't even know if they make them. But I'm going to have this actually facing down. So in order to make sure that this T-nut, which if you look at it, sticks out a little bit, is flush with the bottom of the plinth rather than protruding below the plinth, I'm actually going to, when I put this glue, I'm actually going to put these in the corners with the T-nut down and just make sure it's nice and flat. If you notice that there'll be like that same width that you see here will actually be on that corner. It'll be risen above. But then when I put the feet on, it doesn't look like they're protruding down, or you can't see the T-nut below the plinth, especially from the front. So, okay, we're just going to put some glue on these This is not a complicated process. Let's get these babies glued down and in. Just going to do your two corners. You know me, I like to spread it out a little bit. That is going in. And I'm just going to push it in a way to make sure it's sitting nice and tight and flush. Let's do another. And look at this, trying to decide which side I'm going to use. All right, I'm going to go this corner, not that it matters. I'm just trying to keep the grain alike in the same order or the same direction. Again, it doesn't matter. It's 2 by 2. It's not seen from the bottom, but sometimes I get a little OCD. So these will actually fit below this, so I'm going to do this one. So while that back is still drying, I'll be able to get this one in there. Oop, maybe a little bit too much glue on this one, but no worries. We have paper towels. And that's our 4 corners. And again, they are great to for mounting the feet when you're ready, but they also reinforce the strength in the corners to the other joints that we've already fixed. All right, next we're going to let this dry. And when I come back, you will see this already sanded and moving forward from there. All right, we'll see you. Hey, well, welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we went through our earlier steps of adhering the sides to the front, and then we added the back panel, and then we added our 4 corners. As I said previously, when I did these 4 corners, this one is actually coming, this plinth is coming with the feet. So I also installed some T-nuts, which were then made ready for the feet that are going to be installed here. So we're at our final steps. These are what I would call the finishing touches, if you will. That would be adding the feet, the felt to the back portion, just as a slight absorber. It also hides some sins, if there are any, if you will. And then something for cable restraint. And of course, this sweet little Pimp My Dual badge that we're going to put on the inside of this plinth, just as a furniture branding, if you will. So first things first, I already put these 4 feet together. There's not much to it. It just has a bottom rubber adhesive portion to keep it from slipping on your surfaces. And then another one for the very top. And then the screw, which screws into the T-nut. So basically, to put these together, and I'm just going to show you this one, I'm just going to screw this into the top. And then I'm going to take the adhesive backing off of the top pad. I like to put it on here and kind of get it in and then just press it on. And then finally, the very bottom. And voila. Do that 4 times, you'll have your feet. By the way, and I guess you've noticed, one of the things that I did when it was done being glued and drying is that I sanded it. This has been triple sanded out to 240 grit, which is very fine. And I stained it with the Minwax True Black. And I don't know how well you can see this finish, but it is just gorgeous. The grain on the front of this piece of oak is fantastic. I do my best to give you pieces where you are blended from side to front grain, and then from front over to the other side grain. And this is a really nice blend all the way around. So we're going to put on our feet, which doesn't take much. We're just going to screw them in. Now we have our 4 feet on. It's starting to sit nice and high. Gives it some real presence when we do this. Probably the next more challenging thing will be the fitting of the felt. It's not hard to do, but it is going to take a little bit of time and be a little bit tedious. So if you want to fast forward, I think you'll get the understanding of what we're going to do. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors actually to cut this smaller pieces of felt into a more manageable size. So my first step will be to cut about, I'm going to say, an inch. Try to get that bottom nice and flat. We're going to start with our up portion of this back corner. Let's see if this is far enough away or too close or what. I think that's okay, but we're going to start right here. I'm going to put this right at the very edge, being very careful, and that self-adhesive works really well. Now I have a nice sharp razor knife that will let me to allow me to get a real fine close cut on this to even out with our plinth height. It's a nice final grip there. And we're going to just continue around. I'm going to do the same for this down portion over here. We're going to put a piece back here. I'm going to cut it off a little bit. Once again, trying to line it up real nice with the outside edge so that it's nice and parallel. You have the ability to manipulate this a little bit. And again, a nice close cut. That sharp razor blade that's brand new, it really makes a big difference. It's worth it. That is those 2 pieces, and as you can see, this is what we're getting here, a nice clean felt back to finish it off. We're going to do the same on the other side now. Let's get a good cut on that. Nice. Same thing on this back, bottom. It's again very nice and parallel. You know, my desire would be to get felt that was 3/4 of an inch thick, because that's the width of this wood. But let me tell you, it's not easy to find. And it's not seen anyway. So I'm fine with the 1/2 inch. And finally, we're going to go a little bit long here because we can always trim it back. And this one, you want to be a little bit more careful. I guess I could have waited to take all of that off, but just be careful as you set it down. Again, nice and parallel with the edge, pressing as you go. I'm going to bring it right to here. I'm going to come in and actually saw that piece. So there's 2 final pieces that I'm going to suggest, but I want you to get a close look at that. Hopefully it's clear to you that this gives a nice finished look from around the back of the springed hinge base that we're going to insert here. But there are 2 pieces that will show that don't have anything, and that is this little corner here and this little corner here. And I like to actually take the time and take 2 of the pieces that we had here that were left and actually add those on. And a final cutoff on that one. And the same thing here. So now there is some black felt even on this small little piece over here, and that'll make it look a little bit more finished. So just to see or show you what we're getting, we have the back here. I'm going to slide it in, pull it forward into the groove, and you can now see that we're getting a nice, good looking seal there, some nice felt out on this edge to make it look finished. Same thing over here. Use that small piece up top here to include that portion, but that is it. So we're looking good. Okay, so next we are going to do the cable strain relief, and that is actually going to go right back here in the middle, in the very bottom. So we're going to, you can't really see it. I'm trying to, maybe if I do this, I'm going to, again, basically what we're doing is taking these 2 clips and actually butting them up against each other. And I put the audio cable in one and then the ground and power in the other. And then they are actually tight or put together with a wire tie at the very top. And that keeps them from being able to be pulled any further than these clips. So I'm going to take off that adhesive. I don't necessarily measure where the middle is, but I guess I could. But I'm pretty good eye on this one, I think. Going right at the bottom there, facing that direction is the opening. I'm going to open this, take off this last one. I think you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put this one right there, even with it on the other side. And that will act as our cable string. And this is some good, really 3M double face sticky tape, so it holds really well onto there. Okay, for the final touches, if you will, you can decide whether you want to put this badge on. If I fully assemble it, it's going to come with a badge, but whether you want to or not. And I'm going to actually put this in the back. Actually, I'm going to have to add some adhesive onto this one, which I didn't do yet. So I'll be doing that in just a moment and actually showing you how to do these final wire ties. And then this plinth is ready for service. Talk to you in a minute. Okay, we are at our final stage of building our Pimp My Dual do-it-yourself plinth, and we are back and down to our cable strain relief and setting that up, our Pimp My Dual badge if you so choose to put it on, and then we are wrapped up. So let's start by first putting in the CS base and hinge, and that will just slip into the grooves in the back here. We're going to pull that forward, and to demonstrate this, I'm going to load in a Dual 721 turntable, and I have shown how to take these out and actually how to put them back in if you're not familiar with how to remove your Dual. You can see that in that separate video on how to actually release the transit screws and to lift the whole unit out of a previous base. I already have these cables kind of tied together and there is space, so I'm going to kind of let them flow out the back there. And once again, we have 3 transit screws. I'm going to start by just kind of setting down the springs into the spring holes. And then you actually take these and move them forward to get into their transit holder. Same thing with this front one. And then finally with this one, let me make sure all the springs are in, and they are in and loaded. Now, normally we would put this platter on, but we're going to leave that off because we're going to tilt this on its side. So before you turn or tilt your turntable on its side, be sure that your tone arm is locked down, that your stylus and cartridge are off and move somewhere safely. And then we're actually going to utilize these transit screws to hold it into the base. So you lock these in by actually pulling them up and pushing your base down a little bit and turning them counterclockwise. And they screw back against the base and lock them into place. Again, you're going to turn these counterclockwise. And you'll see that the movement of this turntable has just stopped. It's no more sitting on springs. It's now locked against this black base. So now we can actually safely turn this on its side. And that's what we're going to do here. Carefully turn it on its side. And again, I said that I like to put the audio cables on one clip and then the power on the other. I think I'm actually going to release these cables a little bit. And I'm going to try to tilt this up a little bit so you might be able to see a little bit better of what we're trying to do here with this cable restraint. So again, I have power. I'm going to separate power from audio. Power and ground from audio, I should say, just to make it a little bit more clear. And I've already had these clipped together just so that the RCA, if you have the turntable that has RCA jacks, just so that they can't pull out. A lot of turntables will actually have the audio cables soldered directly to the mute switch. But in this case, It did not, so I kind of gathered them together just so that they work together to keep everything safe. So I'm going to put in the audio cable first. Doesn't matter which order you do this in. Actually, I'm not liking that, so I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put the audio cable up top, and then I'm going to put the ground and power on the bottom clip. And all I'm going to do is clip these two together so that they can't be pulled any further and put any strain on their actual connections within the plinth or within the turntable. I'm just going to add this little wire tie back here. And before I tighten that up, I'm just going to make sure that all my cables have some freedom before I tie them up. And now I'm going to get closer to these clips, tighten it up. Now I can't pull this any further, so therefore there's no strain put on the audio, power, and ground cables. Let's make this clean. I'm going to come in, take off that end. And then finally, we are going to add our Pimp My Dual emblem. I can just get this double face backing off. And we're going to put that baby right here. This is a furniture badge, if you will. So you built this, and if you'd like to take some extra pride in it, there's some space where you can initial it on this flag there. But there is your cable strain, and there's your Pimp Your Dual badge. All right, so folks, this is your unit complete, and this just turned out to be a beautiful solid wood plinth. We'll do some finishing touches. Of course, you want to clean everything when you're done, dust it all off. We'll release our transit screws. Well, I'm going to keep them in for right now, but let's throw a cover on top. 721 uses a really low cover, so I'm just going to add this to the mix. I'm going to try to take this off. I'm going to pause it and actually take this off. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here's our final product. You guys did a great job on building your own plinth with your own do-it-yourself skill set. Look around on this baby again. This is a 721 that is now in this true black all oak plinth, repurposing the base of your original CS unit and or your cover. Just a beautiful, beautiful true black oak plinth. Just came out great. Let's look around at this back work that you guys did. Not great lighting, sorry. But it came out really clean. Let's close this lid, maybe we get a better picture. Nice clean with that felt all the way around the back. Nice blended wood grain from the sides to the front and over to the side again. Just a beautiful improvement over the original dual plinth. Okay, folks, well, that's how you put one together. So now you know how to do it yourself, and you can actually choose, hey, is this something that I want to do myself, or are we going to let Pimp My Dual do it all for me? And that is up to you. We're happy to do either. All right, well, happy music listening, folks. Have a great day.